Believe it or not, chicken strips are often made in Italian households and they're called straccetti di pollo. However, they're traditionally baked alongside vegetables until crispy, tender, and delicious. Start with 2 boneless and skinless chicken breasts. Slice off the top half of the chicken breast right where it starts to get thicker. With a sharp knife, butterfly the thicker half of the breast, taking your time to make sure you cut across it evenly. This will give us 3 equal-sized pieces from each breast. Slice each section into even-sized strips that are somewhere around 3/4 of an inch thick. Continue on with butterflying and cutting the rest of the chicken. Add it to a bowl and evenly mix with 2 pinches of salt or about a 1/4 teaspoon. Let that sit to flavor the chicken while we prep the vegetables. So next, start slicing up a couple bell peppers. You want to use 2 whole peppers total, but I used an entire orange pepper and half of a yellow and red for extra color. But the important thing is that you cut them into strips that are about half the size of the chicken since they take longer to cook. Now, remove the ends from 1 medium-sized zucchini and slice it down the middle. Then slice each half lengthwise and each quarter lengthwise again. Flip each section skin side down and carefully remove the core from the zucchini, which is where most of the water is held. This part would become rather mushy when baking it in the oven and could prevent the chicken from getting crispy. Cut the zucchini into strips that are either the same size or slightly thinner than the peppers. For the coating, mix 3/4 cup of plain breadcrumbs, 4 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, about 3 tablespoons of finely chopped parsley, and the zest from about half of a lemon. Then sprinkle in a pinch of salt and half a teaspoon of garlic powder and paprika and about a 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano before mixing it all together. In a large baking dish, where you have plenty of room to toss everything around, drop in the sliced vegetables along with 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil and another pinch of salt to ensure they're well seasoned. Coat them in the oil, which will give the breadcrumbs something to stick onto. Drizzle another 2 tablespoons of olive oil directly on the chicken before mixing and adding them to the dish with the veggies. Take the breadcrumb mixture and begin by adding a couple handfuls at first so it doesn't clump up, and toss the chicken and veggies separately so you can ensure each piece gets a nice even coating. Then go ahead and sprinkle over more of the breadcrumbs before giving everything another good toss all together. On a very large baking sheet lined with parchment paper, add 2 more tablespoons of oil. Start laying on the chicken and do your best to evenly space out the different vegetables amongst the chicken. Ideally, you'll want 3 rows with everything laid out horizontally, but it's okay if parts of the vegetables are on top of the chicken. However, you want all of the chicken strips to be touching the bottom of the pan so they can get crispy. It seems like a tight fit, but as it cooks, both the chicken and vegetables will shrink in size. Sprinkle on most of the remaining breadcrumbs. Then do a once-over to ensure everything is nicely spaced out and flat on the pan. And you guessed it, add a final drizzle of olive oil over the top. The olive oil is very important not only for flavor, but also to ensure the breadcrumbs get golden brown. Pop it in the center of your 400-degree oven and bake for 25 minutes. Then, if desired, put it under the broiler for 1 to 2 minutes to get the breadcrumbs extra golden. Finish with some additional parsley and a squeeze of lemon. As you can see, the chicken is nicely browned on the bottom, very tender, and the vegetables are nicely cooked. Plus, the cheese in the breadcrumbs should have helped it stick together so you can serve it up in sections before enjoying. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments or if you plan on trying this one out. Thank you for watching.